This episode is brought to you by Muntins Malts, a company that is passionate about providing premium malts to brewers worldwide. For over a century, Muntins has been a leading supplier of brewing and distilling malts, offering the finest British malted barley on the market. You can experience the difference Muntins offers by joining a recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club, because every kit that ships out now includes premium Muntins malt. You know, we've known the Muntins crew for a long time, and I can tell you, friend, you're going to love brewing with their grains. Ask your local supply shop to carry Muntins malts, or homebrewers can join our Trub Club at homebrewhappyhour.com/club, be a part of the community, and come brew with us. Thank you, Muntins, for supporting our efforts and homebrewers worldwide. Today's show is brought to you by hopsdirect.com. Grown in the esteemed Yakima Valley on the Peterball family farm, hopsdirect.com offers the widest variety of hops available online at incredibly competitive pricing. It's simple. They grow hops, they sell hops, and they ship hops straight from their family-owned farm to your doorstep. Producing the highest quality hops is hopsdirect.com's passion, and they're proud to be an independent grower in the craft beer industry. Go to hopsdirect.com right now and get what you need to make your brew day better. That's hopsdirect.com. Today's show is brought to you by Imperial Yeast. You hear us gushing over Imperial Yeast all the time, and that's because their yeast performs for us in every batch that we brew. Imperial Yeast is adored by commercial breweries and home brewers alike. Their pitch-right pouches are jam-packed with over 200 billion fresh yeast cells, guaranteed to deliver flawless, fast fermentations every time. Imperial Yeast strains are grown by a team of pro brewers and home brewers who live to help other brewers learn more and ferment better. Join any recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club and get a free upgrade to premium Imperial Yeast with every recipe kit that ships out to you. Learn more at homebrewhappyhour.com/club and come brew with us.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
An interview with Alt-Pokal 2023 Grand Champion Brian Geraghty. This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 359. Well, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. And if you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you can go to homebrewhappyhour.com, click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or even better, call it in to our hotline 325-305-6107. And when I use your voicemail on a future episode, you get yourself a $25 gift card to kegconnection.com. I'm one of your hosts, Joshua Stubing, and I'm not joined by James. I'm not joined by Todd. Let me actually stop the music. Those guys abandoned me. Right now, when this is published, they're in Germany partying without me. And they're like, oh, we're working. It's a work trip. No, they kicked me. I drew the short straw. I don't want to talk about it. Todd made me stay back. He's taking his operations manager to the marketing gig, and he's making his marketing manager stay and do operations. I don't even want to talk about it. But I said, I don't want you guys calling in from Germany because I have an even better guest. He's the 2023 Grand Champion of the Alt-Pokal, Mr. Brian Geraghty. Brian, my friend, thank you for doing the show with me this week.
Oh, thanks for having me.
And people who have been listening for a while recognize that name. It's because you're also the 2021 Kolsch Cup, our inaugural Kolsch Cup Grand Champion as well. You're just like a winner. I'm just going to call you. I have you in my phone actually as Kolsch King. I'm going to have to redo your name. I have you. I have our this year's George. So I have Brian, parenthesis, Kolsch King 21. And then I have this year's as George Kolsch King 23. I'm going to have to add.
Didn't his family print shirts for him?
He did.
Kolsch King?
They did. We're going to have you all now back.
I believe he said that. I think it was his wife or daughter or something. Yeah, they made shirts for him so that said Kolsch King.
Yeah, we're going to have you two now battle it out. Anyways, before we get to the show and all that, I would be remiss if I didn't go through my small talk. I promise, friends, watching this right now, it will be super quick. Let me just get through it. Right now is the last call for a couple things. The first one I want to talk about is the California Common. That is this month's recipe kit at patreon.com/homebrew happy hour when you join a recipe receiving tier. It's an incredible recipe. James came up with it. It's a true to style, delicious style. It's our farewell homage to the defunct now Anchor Brewing. As far as I know, it's defunct. If any news comes up between when we're recording this and when we published it, I won't edit it. But as far as I know, you can't get Anchor Steam anywhere, and they're not making it anymore. So we have the recipe that we're doing for members of our Trub Club at recipe receiving levels. Again, patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. Thank you to our wonderful sponsors. You heard them at the top of the show, but let me thank them again. Munton's Malt, hopsdirect.com, and of course our friends Imperial Yeast, all providing us with premium ingredients so that we can get y'all the absolute best recipes that you'll ever brew. And then you're gonna, if you don't brew a Trub Club recipe kit and you're like, wow, this other batch I did wasn't that great, it's because you didn't use the premium ingredients from homebrewhappyhour.com. Also, the last bit of small talk before we get on to catching up with Brian, we have the last call. If you listen to last week's episode or the last two, we mentioned how catconnection.com, Black Friday is sort of a formality now. It's not, people are shopping that weekend, but the deals are live. They've been live, but today is the last day. This is publishing on Thursday, the 30th. These deals end in December. We'll have some new deals, but 15% off site-wide at catconnection.com is ending today. If you don't listen to this episode the day we publish it, my bad, but you could always join the newsletter at catconnection.com. You could always listen in real time. I don't know. I'm just trying to let y'all know it's the last call. So if you're trying to get the best deals of the year, go to catconnection.com. No coupon code required. Get yourself 15% off site-wide. If you look at the images on the screen, if you're watching us at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour, you'll see a slew of things that didn't even cover it. We have thousands of products that are marked off at least 15% off. Some of these things are even more than that. The cooler brew that's on there, I hope we still have some by the time I'm publishing this. We're down to 2. We can only sell 2, and the people we get them from, I don't know when they're coming back in stock. So if you've been wanting to get into all grain brewing at 10-gallon or up to 10-gallon batches for very, very, very affordable, head on over to catconnection.com or pick yourself up some kegs. The premium remanufactured kegs are on sale at incredible prices. The 18-liter ones are on sale for even more than 15%. I think they're 19% off. I forgot what Todd made them at, but they're $69.95. Dirt cheap for the basically brand new kegs. But anyways, all that being said, let me put you back on the screen, Brian. Let me put us back on the screen. There you are. Okay. I rushed through that. If people are keeping a stopwatch, that was like 8 minutes into the show and I'm done with small talk. That deserves a 5-star rating on iTunes. Anyway, my friend, it is so good to see you. Let me say a couple things. One, I forgot you had even entered, like the day of the competition. I tried to be as anonymous as possible to me correlating entry numbers to names. So I had a list, a checklist of which alts we received to check off by the entry number, but I had the names of them with a piece of paper over it so that I didn't want to create any kind of subconscious bias, because a lot of people that we know, like you entered the Kolsch Club. It's not like we're great friends or anything, but I didn't want a bias of like, oh, Brian entered, that's going to be a good, you know what I mean? So the other guys, Wes and James and Todd, had no idea whose was whose. And then I did as best as I could, which I think I did very well. And it wasn't until we're tallying up scorecards at the end of day 2 when I realized, oh my God, Brian won again. And because I have your number, I messaged you. Were you expecting to take it down on a style that I don't even know if you're that familiar with brewing?
Well, to be honest, it was only the 4th time I brewed that style. The first time I did it, I actually sent it. I guess it must have been sometime in end of 2021. was after the Kolsch Cup, and I'm like, I'm going to branch out. So I brewed a batch, and in my mind, that's the best batch I've ever brewed. That of the 4 times I've done it, that was the best batch. That first one I did, I mailed you guys out the bottles. I was consulting with James about it back in the time, and it wasn't the recipe. I got like the Kolsch recipe I had. That was basically just me, almost, not that it was very difficult to make a Kolsch, but that was just kind of, my Kolsch is quite different than a lot of people's. I have way less Pilsner malt than a lot of people have in this. Mine is a little different, but this one was straight out of from Horst Dornbusch. I bought his book, and I knew about him and actually the reason I first found Homebrew Happy Hour podcast was a buddy of mine saw this interview with Horst, and he texted me the link, and that's how I found you guys. So when you get that interview you did with Horst back in the day, the first one, that's where I got on. He got on my radar, and I bought the Alt-Pokal book and going through it, and then at some point I just I'm like, I was just looking for more information, and I was looking at recipes, and I'm like, so I just searched on podcast. I just put the name up, Horst Dornbusch, and I got him on a couple other podcasts. So I listened to those podcasts, and between the book and those 2 podcasts, especially this one that we used to be on, it's what do they call it? They say went dark now. The kids say it's like it hasn't published an episode in years now, but back when he was on it, he gave out percentages. Like he was this guy that he was talking to on the podcast had given him his alt beer and his recipe, and Horst was critiquing it, and he started going through ingredient by ingredient with percentages and everything, and I'm like grabbing pencil and paper and writing things down. So that's basically where it came from. And the recipe I do is basically the one right out of Horst Dornbusch's mouth.
So on that podcast, because he tweaked
on
ours.
That podcast, with a little. I mean, more with a little from the book too. The book had some, the basic ones, and they're all. He had several recipes in there, and they all kind of had the same. He'd say two-row, he'd say Munich, Vienna, and caramel or Crystal 60. That was like almost every recipe. Some of them didn't even have any roasted malt. Like literally they have tremendous amount of Munich and Vienna and caramel malt. That was another one. I don't know what constitutes caramel malt, but it's different than Crystal 60. At least in the recipes he had in that book.
Yeah.
But when he was on that podcast, he said he was saying 50 to 60% Bohemian Pilsner. And I believe he said leaning towards the floor malt, kind of like I use in my clothes. I'm like, oh, I know what that is. I got that.
Or bark.
And then
bark, right? Yeah.
He said Cara Munich. He gave a Cara Munich at 10%. He said Munich, but he didn't give a percentage. And then he said Cara Munich. He said Cara Pils at 6%. He was very precise about that. No more than 6%. And then like 1% of Carafa 3. So the first time I went to brew, and so I had no percentage on the Munich, but looking in the book and then just figuring what, when he said 50, I could roughly estimate the Munich part.
Yeah.
So, and then I added some Vienna because the Vienna was in all the recipes he had in his book. So basically, he had a recipe of like 50 to 60, Boho Pils, Munich, Cara Pils, and Carafa 3. The first time I went to brew this, I didn't have any Carafa 3, just for starters. So I substituted, I had midnight wheat. So, and I talked to James about this when I was emailing back at the time, like a year and a half ago, whenever it was. And he's like, "Oh no, you got to go to Carafa 3." I said, "All right." And then, trying to think then the Cara Munich. I was sure the percentage that Horst gave would have worked out to about, I think, 1.25 pound or something like that. If I was going to get it right on the percentage, and I only had like a pound, and I'm like, ugh. So I was sure I had more. I'm like, I'm sure I had more than this. But So I had a buddy of mine, he'd bought a ton of Cara Red for some reason. And he gave me like 2 pounds of it. He goes, I gotta get rid of it. I need space. He goes, I thought I was gonna use more of this and I didn't. So I took like the extra 4 ounces I just took out of the Cara Red. I'm like, it's close. That was the Levabon. I'm like, it's pretty close. It's pretty close to Cara Munich. So I did that. And that's the one I brewed. And I sent it to you guys and, you guys liked it. And then I put it into a competition here locally in Florida and it won a gold up in Orlando. Yeah, in the Orlando area. So then I brewed it another time. But after I won that, I'm like, all right, I brew it again. And this time, no brine substitutions. I'm gonna stick right to the recipe. And I went. I think I was talking to James about this too. But I went to the Dieter Kaiser, which I guess is technically supposed to be the alt beer yeast. And I was getting it ready for competition. And I did what I had done with the Kolsch, about the same time frame, and what I'd done with this previous alt beer. And when I put it into the keg, it was just like it looked like a Hefeweizen. I mean, it looked like a dark Hefeweizen. It literally was like a bite, a Dunkin' bite. Like it was completely like just murky. I mean, there's just a complete haze bomb. And I'm like, what the heck? And it was all yeast. So when I cold crashed it, it was yeast pulling up. Even after I put it in the keg, yeast was still settling out of it. It took like forever to have that settle out. And I'm like, oh, I'm never doing that again. I'm like, I'm sticking with the Dieter because that stuff clears up like nothing flat.
Yeah.
So then I think I did the next one, and I think I had a windy day or something here, and I was playing around with the propane and overboiled it, and I got I guess what they call a Stickel alt. It was a little higher in alcohol than it was intended to be because I didn't get the full yield. I think I ended up a little under 5 gallons at the end of that day. And then the next time was the one I brewed for the Alt Cup, or the Alt-Pokal, and since I had issues with the last 2 beer, that was even the one cleared up and then the other one was a little stronger. Still was like, I don't really. I said, I'm going back to the first recipe. And I literally, with the brine substitutions, I went in there and I put 4 ounces of Cara Red instead of all Cara Munich, got rid of the Carafa, went back to the midnight wheat. And the only difference from that and the original one I gave you, the original one had different. I used Dieter on the one I entered into the Alt-Pokal. The first one was a blend of Y yeast and a local yeast from out in Colorado. And I did that one, another one too, but it's tough to get that yeast out in Colorado. I can't, it's like, they don't ship it anywhere. I have to get it when I'm out there. So that's a tough one. But
I'm going to have to get you to send me in writing the recipe. If you don't mind, I'd love to publish it.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah.
Because
when I made this batch for this competition, I actually sent it off to 3. And it medaled in the Beer for Boobs up in Columbus, Ohio. It got a gold medal up there, and then in another local competition down here in Florida, it just I think scored barely made like 31 or 32 or something like that, and I'm like,
what?
Didn't get anything. But yeah, it's fine. It happens. I've done this with the Kolsch too. You can send it to different competitions and get wildly different results depending on who's judging it. There's subjectivity built into this, so it's not. It really depends on who you get. And
I'm glad that you mentioned that, only because we there's like this misnomer. So we're very open. I mean, you've been listening to the show for a while, so you know that we're schlemiezels and schlemazzles. We're schmutz. And so we don't kind of portray ourselves as BJCP. We this is like our favorite styles. We think we have them dialed in, especially how they're supposed to taste. Let's do this fun competition. But some of the feedback I get, and it doesn't get under my skin as much as like I just want them to understand that every competition, the person judging your beer has a built-in bias. Like it just happens where there's a spectrum of acceptability in a style. And at the end of the day, because like on this one, we had someone message and they're like watching it and where Todd says that doesn't taste like an alt to him, but then James says that. I'm like, guys, I don't know what to tell y'all. Like that's the, if I would love for other competitions, and maybe a lot of them do this, I don't know. I would love for them to broadcast or after the fact publish their judging sessions so everyone can see how drastically different it can be. Because yeah, your beer, I don't remember your highest score on any of the scorecards you received. Was it like a 48? Or I think Todd gave
49 from West.
West gave yours a 49. Where again, well, first off, that is the first obvious that we're not BJCP, because nobody gets that in like BJCP competitions. I say nobody. Someone's going to message me like, actually, I've gotten 10 for you.
Yeah, I've never seen it. Yeah, it's,
no, of course nobody does. But we're judging it from our inherent. But my point being, like what was the best that it got at the other competitions that are BJCP?
Oh, that's a good.
It was mid. I thought you already told me it was like mid 40.
Yeah,
Oh, you're good. I mean, I thought
I have the beer for boobs this year. I think it was in the. I think it was low 40s.
Yeah, 44.
I think it might have been like 41, 42.
Right.
But I won the beer for boobs last year with the Kolsch, and it won with like a 36 or 34 or something. Like it was like mid 30s.
Oh, no way.
And it won a gold. What's that?
I said, no way. That's
yeah. It was I don't know, another competition later, another Kolsch I put in, and I got a 42. And I'm looking at, and usually mark the top of the sheet for like, you make it to the medal round and everything. I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, cool. I had to, I'm like, nope, didn't make anything. I'm like, okay, I guess there are a lot of good Kolsch's in this competition. I got a 42. I didn't even medal, and I won a gold in this other competition with like a mid 30s.
Yeah.
So you don't know. It's kind of.
It is. Well, and so I'll segue into kind of a topic I wanted to talk about in this list of things I had to talk with you about. You're a competitive brewer. You enjoy submitting your beers to competitions. A lot of people who listen to our show are either interested in that, but they're new and they kind of feel like there's this entry barrier of like, oh, I'm just not self-confident or whatever. What got you into competitive brewing, and what's been your experience? Do you do it just for seeing where your beer stands with others, or do you just brew enough that you're like, I want to, you know what I mean? Like, I have enough to spare. I don't mind, because competition entries are relatively affordable for the most part.
I never really. I mean, I entered a couple of non-sanctioned, whatever, little rinky-dink local at a beer fest type thing before the Kolsch Cup. When I won the Kolsch Cup, that's when I got the bug. I wasn't really entering any competitions before. I had been working on my Kolsch for, I guess, the previous year. I was kind of trying to make that my house beer, and I've been working on it. And then you guys we're going to have a Kolsch competition. I'm like, well, I guess perfect. I'll enter it. And then when I won, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I should enter this in some other competitions. And that's when I started running with the Kolsch and entering it into everything I could, anything I could, get one brewed and get it shipped out, or have to drive it to it, or whatever I had to do. And it ran. I've gotten 5 or 6 medals out of the Kolsch, and not all gold. We've got a couple silvers and a bronze in or two. But it's and then I just started working on the alt too. But I didn't work on the alt as much as I had been working on the alt. I just brewed it again. It just went into the keg the other day. It's cold crashing out right now. But I was going to brew something else. But then once I won the Alt-Pokal, I was getting ready to brew just a kitchen sink Christmas beer. I had a bunch of extra Munich. I'm like, I'm just going to brew something I'll call Christmas beer. And then once I did this, and I'm like, everybody's going to be asking for the when they're like, my wife's going to go. My wife's going to say, "Oh, Brian won the," and I'm like, everybody go, "Oh, where is it?" And I'm like, "I don't have any." It's not a good answer. So I'm like, well, I better get the Christmas beer and brew the alt again.
My man. Yeah. So you say you entered Rinky Dink ones before Kolsch Cup. No, that was the third Rinky Dink one that you entered. And then...
No, I would beg to differ with that. There's with competition, especially when you're going for dealing with that one style. That's the most beers you're going to go up against. I mean, I think the first Kolsch Cup we had was like just under 4. I think only 48.
No, it was like 48. It was like 48. Yeah.
Yeah, made it. How many made it this time? Alt-Pokal. How many total were there?
30, 32 or 30. I forget. It'd be like, so we had a lot of people drop. We had a lot of people drop out.
That is way more than mostly what you'll see. You know, if you put an alt beer or a Kolsch into a BJCP competition, even though you're lucky. Number one, especially with the Kolsch, you'll get thrown in with German Pilsners and even in German any German pale bitter beer, you'll get thrown in with them. So you're not going head to head with Kolsch's, you're going head to head with other styles as well. And you're lucky, you know, most of those, sometimes you'll have less than 10. And you could have 7 or 8 total entries, which means when they push, you know, they're only going to kick out maybe 2 or 3 because they'll push 5 or 6 to the second round. And then you got 50, you know, if there's 5 or 6, you got almost 50-50 chance of getting something at that point. So when you got one style and you got 30 and 40 entries to go up against, that's about as tough a competition you're going to see.
You know what? I like that. I mean, because you're right. I didn't think of it that way. James, of the 3 of us, is the only one who's entered, and he had bottle infection. We've talked about on the show. So that kind of scarred him for life. Cause like that batch of alt he had was brilliant. And then when he got the stores back and they were all like, you know, high teens, it was like 17s, 18s. He was so pissed because it was like, oh, obvious infection. And he was like, now how the heck did they get an infection and da. But where I'm going with this is that I've never thought of it that way. You're right. Like the National Homebrew Competition has so many styles they're judging. You're right. I bet you every style doesn't have, you know, 30 to 50 entries into that style. Or
no. I mean, I think sometimes in a beer competition, an IPA will have a lot of entries. But like for most of the other ones, you're not going up against you know, because most of these local competitions will cap the whole competition at about 300 beers.
Right.
Sometimes they'll push it to like 400, but they don't. I mean, they can't just take the the national. That's like. There's a lot in there, but and I entered the Kolsch into the national this year, and I did make it out of the first round. And I didn't get a score sheet. So I don't even know. But there was like 8 different. I drove them up to Tampa because that was the entry. That was the closest entry location that I could drop them off at, and that was it. Never heard back. I looked on the website and saw they posted which ones were getting pushed to San Diego for the nationals. I wasn't on it, so I don't know what happened there.
And they don't even give you a scorecard.
I didn't. I've never. I think I saw somewhere in the fine print when I was signing up for it that you weren't going to get one of the first round. You get one if you make it beyond that, but I don't think either you know, thumbs up or thumbs down in the first round, whether you get pushed or not.
I love that because I should do that. That makes it so much lazier for me. Be like, oh yeah, no, you didn't get out of the first day. You don't get a scorecard. No, I'm kidding. I think one of the things people enjoy about our competitions, one, they're super laid back in nature. The second feedback we always get that's positive is they like the transparency. But actually, the thing people like the most, you're wearing it right now, is the shirt everyone gets and the scorecards that we send out. So real quick, does the shirt fit good? Is it okay? Do you like the shirt?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, really well.
Todd hates it because I I didn't realize that when you go with heather, so heather is like a style of shirt for color. Like I originally picked a maroon shirt, and the sales lady was like, I picked a maroon all cotton shirt. This is important. You'll know why in about 2 minutes. And the lady, like last year, we went with a black, or the last couple competitions for Kolsch Cups, we've gone with just black shirts. Todd loves black and he wants all cotton. That's all he wants. So it's like, okay, Todd, I'm going to get a 100% cotton black shirt. But for the Alt-Pokal, I was like, let's change it up. Let's do like a maroon or a copper, something that's closer to the color. And the sales lady was like, you know, we actually have a deal on Heather Cardinal, and your logo would look great on it. And I was like, you know what, sales lady? Our logo would look good on Heather Cardinal. Let's do those. They arrive on opening weekend, which was the first weekend of November. We're at the ranch. Todd has guns in his hands, and the shirts arrive, and he tries it on, and he goes, "It feels a little tight on me." And he takes it off, and he looks at the thing. Son of a gun! It's the 60-40 blend. He yelled at me. He yelled at me on opening weekend with, I think, 5 guns in his hands. He had, I'm bad at math, but he had that rage. It was terrible. And I put the shirt on. I'm like, dude, I love this. It fits great. It looks good. The color's nice. I washed it a few times already. It's holding up well. I love it. But I'm glad to see you in it. You have the trophy too. If you have that, can you show that trophy off? Look at that. Oh, I can't. You have the first. So first off, I'm glad I went with a different trophy than the Kolsch Cup, because how embarrassing would that be for you to have 2 of the same trophies up on your mantle? You have now 2 very distinct trophies. I know it just arrived.
Yeah, it's definitely a different look. Yeah,
I know it just arrived today. Your wife has not seen your new hardware, has she?
She has not. She'll be happy.
Yeah, okay, good. Okay. I told you off air when you said it arrived today. I was like, my idea that I had for myself, but now I want to do it for you. I'm just going to every other month spend the $120 or whatever those trophies cost Todd. I'm going to just make you fake trophies and ship them out every other month for some made up competition and see what your wife says after about 6 months or 6 trophies of doing that. She'll be like, quit winning. What are you doing? Quit winning. That was my original idea for myself, for my office. I need to enter competitions or just make up trophies and line up my office with them. And then that might impress my father. But anyways, back to you though, Brian Geraghty. You're gonna have to remind me, I did the math somewhere on here. It's been 137 weeks since we've had you on the podcast. So you got to remind me, what are you brewing on? What kind of batch sizes are you brewing? And how frequently are you brewing? Has anything changed since the last time we've talked?
No, equipment wise, no. I got a cooler brew. I got a 15-gallon kettle, and I got a Home Depot 10-gallon cooler, and I have a small 5-gallon one for a hot liquor tank, and it's a gravity system. I have no pumps. You know, hot liquor gets hoisted up in pitchers on top of a ladder, and then the mash comes at a mid level, and it just works downhill into the kettle.
You are brewing so OG. I love it, especially I love you're brewing these German styles that have so much history, and you're not brewing it the exact way they were doing it. But I mean, I'm saying though, like you haven't found the need to upgrade anything on the hot side, at least, to make good beer.
I would if I could. If I had the room to have like a Brautag, I would. I would have a 3 best. I would have like a one. I'd have that if I could. I had a place to put it, and I don't really know. It's I have to assemble my brewery every time in the garage. So it takes me nearly, 45 minutes to an hour to, sweep out the garage, set up the ladder, set up the benches, set up the burner, set up, get it. That's a setup and breakdown every time I do it. And then, so sometimes some beers I won't do the whole. I've been doing some brewing a bag now too on certain styles to, IPAs, because I'm still in an IPA slump. I can't just, I can't. I mean, I put one in the beginning of this year, I guess, or before the summer anyway. And I put it in 2, and I didn't really care for it, but it was the first one that didn't have that I thought didn't have flaws. Like I really didn't care for the hop profile, but I put it into 2 competitions. I put it in as a pale ale. American Pale Ale is one, and I put it as an IPA as the other. And I think it got a bronze as an IPA and a silver as a pale ale. I didn't really care for it, to be honest.
That's what I say almost every.
It did all right in 2 different competitions. And I don't like to, because in some of them wouldn't even send to a con. Some of them, I just had a bad, like that. Like, that's not good. I don't like that. I got to blend it with some other beer to finish the keg. Like, literally, I'm doing that kind of thing. And so I started doing the brewing bag. Like, I don't want to go through all this, mashing and then I just got one of those brewing bags. I stick it in the kettle and I hoist it out after we're done mashing. And I for pale ales and actually I've been doing some short and shoddy beers too. Like, we're literally doing brewing a bag and doing like 30-minute mash, 30-minute boil. Doing Kvite lagers.
Yeah.
With that, it's some of them come out pretty good. I mean, I've had some pretty good results with that. I've actually done quite that in a cream. I've been doing my same recipe almost. I have I use Pilsner and the regular rigmarole, and then I use minute rice to lighten the American lager type thing, and then I'll use the Kvite yeast, and if I do a cream ale, I do the same thing except I use Quaker instant grits for the corn.
Interesting.
Just switch out the minute rice with Quaker instant grits, and then I switch to US-05, and actually brew that start that pretty cold. I start that down like 58, 59 degrees. And I just let it rise up like slowly, like let it go like a degree or 2 every day as it goes up, and they've been coming out pretty good too, except for the last one I did. It was like the Kaiser alt beer. It came out looking like and it never cleared. I did it before the summer, and I was gone most of the summer. I was up in Indiana,
okay,
and I did it before that and left it. Turned the freezer at 33 degrees, the keezer, and left it for 6 weeks or something like that, and like came back and poured it. It's like exactly the same. Like, I don't know what I did.
What?
I don't know what. I can't figure it out. I don't know what happened to that batch.
No clarification that whole time.
Never cleared up.
Let's talk about your cold side then too. Have you upgraded? So you're in Florida and you're talking about fermenting starting at 58. You're not doing that with the ambient temps. What's your cold side?
No. I got 2 freezers out in the garage. I got one that primarily my serving, it's like we put the kegs in there, and it just, and it's nothing fancy. The lids, I haven't built it out like, Todd would with, like cap sticking out of everything. I just open the lid and pick up the picnic tap that's attached to the top of the keg and pour myself a beer and then close the lid again. It's nothing fancy. And then I got another one that I use primarily for, as a fermentation chamber.
That's awesome.
I use that one for the same way.
Yeah.
If I don't have room in the other one.
Wait, you're using just picnic taps for your serving one? No way.
For the most part, yeah.
Really? We got to
it would, I guess the one does it. I guess it wouldn't matter. The one I use is the fermentation chamber. That they only, when you're doing that, when you're letting it get, you're letting it get warm and then making it cold. And I guess that eats up the compressor, because I've gone through, I think 3 of those now in the last like 10 years. They last a few years. They last like 2-3 years, and then they just die. But the first one I ever bought is the serving one, and that one's still kicking. I'm waiting for that one. It's got so many stickers on it now. It's like complete. You can't even see the so many beer stickers. I think it's down that you can't even see the freezer anymore. But that's that. I'm waiting for that one to kick the bucket.
It'll show you it's going to live forever. You talked about your IPA.
Yeah, well, it'd be nice if it did.
You talked about your IPA and your pale, the what you swapped. And you said something about not liking the hop profile, and it reminded me that I didn't ask you when we were talking about your recipe for the alt beer. What hops did you use? And real quick, real quick before you answer it, because the last Kolsch Cup, I don't know if you watched the interview I did with the 2023 champ, George. He used Sterling, and it just left. Like, I mean, I was just like, what? Yeah, like that was the dun dun dun. If you tell me you use Sterling in this alt, I'm gonna hang myself. No, I'm gonna edit that out, Mom. I'm just joking. I won't do that. But I'm going to have a fit if you tell me it's some random hop like Sterling.
Now, is it you or Todd that can't stand Sterling?
Me.
You. Okay. I use Sterling in my American Light Lager and my cream ale. I do use Sterling in that. But no, the alt, I think the first time the very first one I used the same hop profile as I did for the Kolsch. It was a Alt-Pokal and Technique. And then when reading horse stuff, he's big on it. If you're really going to be authentic, you have to have Spalter.
Yeah. Yep.
So I just added Spalter to the mix. Like it's a combination of Alt-Pokal, Tetnang, and Spalter.
Okay, yeah.
That's what's in the...
Well, and I made an assumption when you said you based it off of horse, because I have that book too. And I know he has a few in there. I always like that Schumacher alt recipe that he has in there. That seemed like a good balance. I mean, he has, I think there's 3 or 4 different alts in there.
Yeah, he does have 3 or 4 recipes in there.
Yeah, and I think Schumacher is the one that...
he has a couple. He has like a commercial recipe. He has like for tons and tons of grain.
I wanted to get Horst to the ranch to be a guest judge. It didn't line up because he has such a busy year. Because right now he's actually, to contribute to my woe. When this episode is being published, he's probably with Todd and James right now drinking. Well, they're in Nuremberg. I'm trying to think what's big in Nuremberg. Tuscher's big there, like their pills. They're probably drinking a lot of Pilsner and probably laughing at me that I'm not there. But we're trying to get Horst into the ranch. Having the Alt-Pokal in later of the year is difficult because of all these European trade shows and stuff that he's going to and that Todd has and all that. So maybe my timing was bad with the Alt-Pokal, but I'd love to get him in because, like you said, he is the alt man, right? I mean, his book, it has inspired a ton of people for the style. It has a ton of very good, straightforward recipes. And I'm assuming you've never been to Dusseldorf, but had you had an alt beer before brewing?
No. That's why I sent it to you guys. When I brewed that first batch, I sent it a year and a half ago or 2, whatever it was. I sent it to you guys to say, this is like, am I in the ballpark? Because you don't know. I mean, you don't have. I mean, there's some popping up. Like the Kolsch's popped up everywhere. Like after, I'm going to give you guys credit for that too, because before the Kolsch Cup, you didn't see a lot of local breweries. Like that explosion of local breweries putting out Kolsch's. The correlation comes after the original Kolsch Cup, but. Still not. I see a few because I hit a lot of breweries when I'm traveling. There's a few places that are putting out alts now, but they're really more like, I think. I mean, not that I don't like it, but they're more like amber beers. I mean, they're literally, because I grew up in the Northeast in upstate New York. Long Trail was like a beer out of Vermont. It was like an iconic old, one of the original, kind of thing. And they had an amber. Long Trail was just an American amber ale. And I think the original brewery went out of business, but someone one of the other brewers up there bought the branding, and they're pushing out Long Trail again. And I saw it was last Christmas when I was up there. I was up there at some point, and I saw it on the shelf in the store, and they're not calling it an amber beer. They're calling it an alt beer.
Oh no.
I'm like, oh, okay. I see what's going on here.
That's marketing. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, so there's a couple like that where I've seen a couple. They're now saying, the Alaska and the amber was always supposed. They always marketed that as is an alt beer, and I've had that in bottles like out in Colorado. Occasionally, like it is now. I go. There's a restaurant I was going to. They would have it sometimes, and then not others. So I've had it, the Alaska Amber, and that's. I guess it's. I mean, it tastes kind of amber beery to me too. But that's that's what they always said was the American alt beer was Alaskan.
Yeah, and that was my first commercial, and I think they renamed that. I know it's always been considered an alt, and I want to say it used to say alt beer on their packaging, but now it says amber, right?
Oh, does it?
I think I don't remember either. I think that their Kolsch definitely still says Kolsch or Kolsch style. It might not just say Kolsch. It might say Kolsch style. There is a brewery near me, and I don't think anyone from their brewery watches the show. The campus is absolutely beautiful, and they've spent millions of dollars, and they have this facility that's incredible. They brought this German head brewmaster in, and they have the German lager, and they have the German Kolsch, and they have a German alt. But like after a year and a half of existing as a brewery, they magically changed the name of their alt to Amber. And I wondered if it was for two reasons. One, we'd had it, and it's not an alt beer. It doesn't taste like a Dusseldorf alt. But what I thought was maybe the local market didn't know what to think about alt, and so they thought, no, I don't think they're admitting it's not an alt beer as much as they think in Central Texas, amber triggers more customer knowledge than alt beer. You know what I mean? Like that's what I think it is.
Yeah.
But when they changed the name, I was like, oh, finally they recognize it is not an alt beer. But I sat and thought about it, like, no, they probably figure amber means something to more people than alt beer. Because you have to imagine, like you're hosting for whatever holiday or people coming over, and you tell them, you won an award for your alt beer. How many general people who don't brew and don't maybe work in the industry or aren't craft beer nerds, how many of them even know what that is? Like alt beer.
Oh, there's going to be. I'm getting ready. I'm actually going to probably fill one of those mini kegs that I bought from Keg Connection last month.
Oh yeah, the 9 liters.
I'm gonna fill. Yeah, that's nice. Dude, those are beautiful.
You're selling them for me. You're selling them for me.
Yeah, those. If I had room, I mean, if the full size ones, they hold. I figured it out. It's not. Yeah, it's not quite worked down in a place. I think it's over there somewhere. They're just under. It's not 2.5 gallons. It's like literally, it's like 2.39 or something like that. It's just. It's right. That's right dead on the weld line, like under the rubberized part. It's like just right dead on that line. But that's what I'm going to probably be hauling with me to the holidays this year. Is one of the 9 liter keg full of alt beer is going to be that's what the relatives are going to be they're sampling this Christmas. And
I think that's fantastic, the award-winning alt beer. But how many of them does alt beer mean anything? Nothing, right?
Yeah, they won't mean anything to them. That's this will be their first taste of alt beer.
I found
they want to go, how is it? But they've never had it before.
I found that to be maybe like you said, I agree with you, especially at the local level. Texas breweries are pumping Kolsch out like crazy. The last 12 months, a ton of Texas breweries have just started pumping them out. So I'm spoiled with really, really good all the way down to just kind of good. But I haven't had a bad Kolsch in Central Texas in forever. One of my favorite breweries ever, Real Ale and Blanco, their Cruiser Kolsch right now is my favorite commercial Kolsch you can get domestically, not import. And their German Pilsner, Hans Pils, happens to be my absolute favorite German Pils you can get domestically too. What I'm trying to say is Real Ale, give me a job. But moving on from that, where I'm going with this, up until very recently, Kolsch was foreign to most people. I would just tell people blonde ale. If I was giving them Kolsch and they're asking like, what is it? Blonde ale. And even that, to some of them were like, so like a Budweiser? Like, no, I don't want, okay, that's a lager, but I don't want to go over the differences, But Kolsch is becoming more known to people, where I would love for alt to, but it's just so obscure, right? Like some of those German styles. Do you brew any other German style or hybrid beer nailed down that's very obscure?
No, I don't. No, I did an Oktoberfest kinda this year. I did I think kinda because it was one of my short and shoddy. Well, I did a short and shoddy Oktoberfest, but I did it in March, like so as a Markson. So I brewed it in March, and then my buddy he has a bigger freezer, and he hadn't been brewing as much. So I said, "You got room over there?" And he goes, "Oh yeah." So I put it there and left it till we tapped it in. I think the last weekend in August, we finally tapped it, and it was okay. It wasn't, and he brew in October. He brew a couple October because that's his go-to beer, and his was better, and he brewed today, but it was drinkable. It was in the ballpark for being but it was brewed with 30-minute mash, 30-minute boil, and I used the Omega Lutra.
People love it. People love Lutra. They use it. People love it.
Yeah, it's I've had sometimes I've had really good results with some, and other times it's when doing like an American light lager, it does give a lemony thing in the background, which can lager out if you leave it long enough. But that almost defeats the short and shoddy part of it. Is like if I do 30 minutes and then throw it in Lutra, but it takes me like 6 to 8 weeks for it to mellow out and get rid of the lemony flavor to make it a clean beer. It's like, that's not really, it defeats the purpose of doing it quick at the beginning. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, and also real quick, shout out to Marshall and Brewlosophy. I know they didn't invent the concept of short and shoddy. I mean, I don't even know if they have that little phrase trademarked, but shout out to them for making it popular, because people are realizing they can make good, or at least decent beer, most of the time good beer, without a long brew day. Like not everyone has the time to do the hour mash and then your 30-minute splurge and then your hour.
But I found though, I still do, actually I'm doing less 30. I'm doing that. I'm not doing that as much anymore. I'm doing, sometimes I'll go 45, because you get a pretty good mash at 45, and sometimes I'll go a full hour with it, because if you're doing 30 minutes, you got to really hustle. Like this, like in a brew day, you got, when you mash in and you leave, and you set a timer for whatever, and you can go take care of other 30 minutes. You gotta mash. You gotta like be getting everything ready, like to go, and then once you're boiling, it's like as soon as you turn the burners on, you gotta get the cooling coil set up. You gotta like,
good point. Yeah,
you're gonna be doing it like in nothing for a couple of hop additions, and all of a sudden, time to turn the flame. It's stressful. Actually, it's more stressful than doing a 45-minute day or an hour. Is a more easygoing brew day, even for brewing the bag, than trying to do the 30 and 30. It's too compacted. It's doing too much in too short a time.
Now, not putting you Johnny on the spot or saying there's necessarily a direct correlation, but what would you say your best beers have been brewed more traditionally, or have your best beers been brewed short and shoddy?
I was traditionally.
Yeah.
I brewed the Kolsch gets brewed traditionally. The Alt gets brewed traditionally. I've won gold with the cream ale and the American light lager in competitions down here. They won 30 and 30, but I've got other ones that were like, that never cleaned up. They kind of had lemony taste. Like if you get lucky, if you hit it right, you can make an award-winning beer, but it doesn't, I'd say, I don't make too many bad cultures. Don't really come out when you're doing it the proper way.
No, that's why I love that style. And it's so, if you're not entering a competition and you don't care about the clearest possible version of it, you can turn a Kolsch around so quick. I love it. Like using that Dieter from Imperial, I can brew on a Friday and I'm drinking it by the next Saturday. Dieter just finishes out so
it drops out really quick. And I gelatinized everything. Not when I read, but Kolsch's Kolsch's that I got a regiment for opening up the pressure release valve and putting the coupler over the gas post at the same time and doing a quick pour in there and then purging the head. And I make a gelatin solution and put it down there. 24 hours, it's going to be clearer than it was. And in like 4 days, you're going to be able to read the newspaper.
Yeah,
they're crystal clear like in 4 days.
Did you use gel for that alt beer?
Yes, yeah. The one said, that was gelatinized.
It was crystal clear. I don't know if you watched us judging it. It was just like, yeah, like you said, reading the newspaper right through it. It was,
it's 4 days, and that had longer than 4 days. That was at least 2 weeks or longer sitting in before I bottled it, and then because I bottled it the last second. I bottled that the day before I shipped them.
oh wow,
So it was.
And the bottling
I
process.
I think I had to get the beer for boobs one up there, so I actually bottled some for the beer for boobs and sent them like the week before, and then I bottled again the day I shipped yours, and then I literally drove to the other competition in Tampa.
I will say before I had a last question before I get to it though. You're bottling from a keg, and are you using a counter pressure bottle filler or the Willkommen beer gun or something else?
The Willkommen beer gun.
See, so I think I already knew that from the last time we had you on, and I want to bring it up because what is your secret, or maybe not secret? What is your process? Because there are people who either they have counter pressure bottle or this, and one of their biggest complaints is, oh my God, my carbonation in the bottle is just inconsistent when I'm going from a keg. What do y'all do? And I'm like, well, first off, I never bottle, but I don't understand how there can be such a discrepancy. But your Kolsch, or pardon me, your Alt, well, and your Kolsch back then, but your Alt, the carbonation was just spot on. It wasn't lost at all. What are you doing when you're bottling from the keg? What's the exact process?
It takes a little dialing in. I mean, it's to get three. Mostly, you guys only require two, but most competitions you got to send them 3 bottles. And to get 3 competition bottles, I ordinarily will be bottling at least a dozen bottles to get 3. To get it it takes us 3, 4, 5 bottles sometimes to just dial in the pressure. And I start by just I get it to where in the keg where I think it's good, the carbonation wise. And then I'll zap it like overnight. Like I'll pick up the thing, but I'll just put a little bit, I'll put like 20 pounds on it or something. I'll put, it depends on, it varies on how much headspace there is. Not that I can see, but I know how many beers have come out of it. And I'm like, if it's less headspace, you can put a little bit more on. If it's a little more headspace, you got to be a little careful, like maybe 15 pounds but I just put some extra pressure on it like the night before so that it's just slightly overcarbonated the next day when you get the beer gun out. Because you're going to lose some of that carbonation running it in the beer, filling the bottle, you're going to lose carbonation. So if you I just tweak it up just a smidgen the night before, and then just dial it in. Like if it comes, if you're getting too much foam, like you just got to kind of like get a play with the pressure. Never. It's always different every time. You gotta like have to dial it. You fill a bottle, kind of dial it. Fill another one, and then when they get to a sweet spot and I think they're going good, then I'll make a run off like 3 or 4. That they'll be the ones that go to the competition, and then whatever bottles I have pre-cleaned and ready to go, those will be ones that get handed out, go to the boss, go to the father-in-law, go to the guy, the pool cleaning guy, whoever they're gonna do is there's a guy, I have a coconut tree out in the front yard that you have to get the coconuts cut out of it because they drop like bombs. It's a big tree. It's like a 40-foot. It's a big coconut tree and it drops big coconuts. So every so often I have to get a guy to come and do it. And for a while I had this kid that was doing it and I was paying him like $100 and 2 bomber bottles of whatever beer I had was, and I think that's what got me coming back. It's like, he's kind of like, and then it's like, and I'm like, $100 and some beer. He goes, all right, I'll be there on Sunday morning.
I'll be there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love it. And thank you for the process thing. Cause that's brilliant. You're right. You have to just adjust a little bit of overcarb in the keg is going to make up that compensation for what you lose. And then, like you said, I never thought of it because I never bottle and I don't enter competitions. It's not going to be the first 2 bottles you do where it's dialed in perfect. I'm going to competition.
Oh, never. No. Those are, sometimes they don't even fill right. Sometimes you'll get too much foam in it, it'll foam over. You'll have not enough, like I have a big gap in the neck. And the first few bottles, they get drank usually that first day. Like as soon as when I'm done bottling, I just drink those. Those get poured into a glass like almost immediately. But before the end of the day, they're going to be drunk.
Yeah, we do not waste. But yeah, that's just brilliant. And so I appreciate your time, and I know you're working. Supposedly, I'm working today too. But I have one final question I always like to do, and I know we did it last time, but not everyone's gone back 137 episodes ago to episode 222. By the way, if y'all want to hear the first interview I did with Brian after he won our inaugural 2021 Kolsch Cup, then we didn't even do a 2022 Kolsch Cup. There's only been 2 Kolsch Cup champions. But the final question I love to ask on like these kinds of homebrewer showcase episodes is, you are now award-winning. You're entering extremely good beer. You're meddling with extremely good beer. Have you been bit by the bug of professional brewing? Has that come in to your brain of like, I'm going to quit. The band's going to make it. I'm going to go brew and be a professional brewer. And then the quick follow-up to that, what does it going to take to get you to move to Central Texas and we'll open up a Kolsch and Alt brew pub with tacos? My mom said she'd make the tacos if we made the beer. So anyways, the whole question, professional brewing, has it entered your brain?
It's seriously, probably not. I mean, I've seriously considered going to some breweries just to say, hey, can I, I'll shovel out your mallet. And I just go, we're on a big system is going to be completely different than, and that's something that's on my list of things to do is to go knock on someone's door and say, hey, can I like sweep the floor here if you let me hang out and, brew, watch you brew or participate in brewing just so I can learn how to do it. But beyond that, yeah, I mean, everybody, we're sitting around drinking homebrews some nights we talk about, but it's a tough business. It's not,
Yeah. Way to bring it down, Brian, because you're right.
I know a little bit, but yeah, it's a lot. I've read like everybody. I read Sierra Nevada, Ken Grossman's book, Sam Adams' book, the Lagunitas, the Dogfish Head. They're all that's a rough road to hoe. I mean, it really is to get up and that not that you're going to ever get. Nowadays, you're going to be looking at a smaller community nano brewery type thing. That's what I don't see any Sierra Nevadas or New Belgians on the horizon that are gonna become like a national distribution thing or like that. But yeah, it's a lot of work. I don't know. It's like I said, I'd like to volunteer and try to learn how to brew in a big system. But for opening up a brewery, yeah, when we're drinking, yes. When I wake up the next morning, it's like, yeah, not so much.
I love that. Yeah, no, you're right. The reality, I forever have been like, how great would it be? But you're right. The model that might work is if you're in a community that supports hyper local, you don't distribute, and it's a nano brewery tap room with food. Like that seems to be the only model that, and you're not going to get rich. You're not going to get rich doing it. The margins are terrible on brewing beer.
You have to have low overhead real estate. That's why they're all on the outskirts of towns or warehouses and stuff like that. You can't be in a high traffic area.
No. And in downtown Austin, we just lost. Oster Blues is the one that just closed down. They closed down their Austin brewery, and without announcement either. They just and where they're at, there used to be 4 or 5 or 3 or 4 breweries. Now there's 2 left, or one functional one. Just because the overhead's so much, and like I said, there's just not. Yeah, it is a rough industry. I joke, but it's actually terrible right now. We need we need I love more craft breweries, but maybe this is a plea. Go support your local ones that you like. Go drink the beer that you like. Go visit them and support them if you want to see craft beer going. Otherwise, just brew your own, and then don't be surprised when they all close down. But anyways, Brian, my friend, send me the recipe. I would love to publish that. You have my email, and hopefully, maybe, I don't know how often you travel to Texas. Ideally, I would love to have you come to the ranch at some point, maybe for the next year's Kolsch Cup, if you're okay with not entering it, and help be a judge. We could even try to get George there as well. Past champs, if you can get yourself to the ranch, I can guarantee that we'll cover everything else. You won't have to pay for your lodging. We'll cook you up food. I say we, Todd's wife, will cook you up food. I'm volunteering everybody what they're going to do, but I would love that. Or just enter Kolsch Cup 2024 and win that too, and have another trophy for yourself, not just yourself, but your shelf. But anyways, thank you for your time, my friend. I greatly appreciate it, and hopefully we talk soon.
All right. Sounds good.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page. Or even better, you'd be Todd's best friend when you leave us a voicemail at 325-305-6107. Thank you to our show sponsors like Munton's Malt, premium grains for a better brew day. If you aren't already brewing with Munton Malt, give them a try by joining our Trub Club at a recipe receiving level. For the best hops available online, give our friends at hopsdirect.com a visit and pick up what you need for your next brew day. Also, get a pack of Imperial yeast along with premium recipes from us when you join the Trub Club. Go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and come brew with us. On behalf of the absent Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thanks for listening.